felt like I needed to clear something up. Yesterday I released a video and I said it was easy to make a feature film, which that could be kind of a confusing statement because on the one hand, it is easy. Like, it doesn't involve all the stuff that you think it involves, but it's not that simple. And so I just wanted to clear this up because I got some comments at the channel and I just felt like maybe it was a little confusing for some people. So here's what I meant. What I meant is you don't need a Sony a7S III or an FX3 or a Panasonic S5 2X or even a S5, which is what I'm shooting on right now. And I'm using a Minolta 50mm Rokkor f1.4 lens. You don't need all this. And by the way, this combination right here will cost you less than $1,000, but some people don't even have $1,000, but I'll let the other videos speak for all of that. You could definitely get the gear that you need. You don't need, all this stuff. That's easy. And once you have an idea, and once you make a commitment, and once you plan it, and once you just start doing it, in my opinion, it's easy to do. All by yourself, with nobody else. You don't need any friends, you don't need a crew, you don't need anything, just you. And a camera, sound equipment, meaning a lavalier mic and some kind of audio recorder. In my case, again, I covered it all in the other video, I'm not going to go through it again. But you just need enough gear to get sound and to get video, and that's it. You need basic lights, and that's it. But here's the hard part, which I guess I didn't include, and I should have included it because obviously it kind of threw a few people off. It's hard to come up with an idea. I mean, it's easy to come up with an idea, but it's hard to come up with an idea that's going to lead you to committing to this kind of process, to finding that kind of dedication and sacrifice that's required to make a feature film. Because you're not going to do it in a couple of days. I mean, I guess you could. It depends on how you want to shoot it. But in my opinion, to do the best work, it's going to require a lot of dedication, a lot of grit, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of discipline. And also, in my opinion, all of those things are going to transfer over to the rest of your life as well. None of those are bad things. And so you're going to need to also get over this feeling that, a lot of people kind of feel like, why is anybody going to be interested in anything I have to say? Why is anybody going to be interested in my story? And you can't think about that. First of all, plenty of people might be interested in your story. And I pretty much guarantee there'll be plenty of people who will, because you're not so special. I'm not so special. None of us are that special where our story is just our story. Like, our stories resonate with so many other people. But the gift of being an artist is to share it and to create a space where people have this beautiful exchange, this beautiful shared experience, which is either a performance or a movie or something like that. That's a great opportunity for you. That's something that's like a gift. Because people will be interested in what you have to say. They will be interested in where you've been and where you're going and what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what your life has been like. If you want to do a memoir and tell your story, or you create a story that you think is meaningful and contributing, something important, something that you must share, otherwise you feel like you might die. That's fun to come up with something like that and then to begin to work on it and to be like, damn, I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to share it. But that's not easy, because that does take a lot of sacrifice. That does take time. It takes commitment. It takes actually writing. It takes editing. And I'm not talking about video editing. I'm talking about the editing of your story. It takes, coming up with a storyboard and shot list and stuff like that if you're doing a movie. But the main thing is the willingness to be vulnerable, the willingness to have that intimacy with an audience. If you're going to break the fourth wall, to look directly into people's eyes. And that will transform you. That will be a catharsis. Trust me, it'll change your life. The willingness to do that, the openness, to be vulnerable is the bravest thing in the world. And it's the most relatable thing to people. People want that. They want it. They're rooting for you. They want you to do well. They want your story to be amazing. They want you to be amazing. And they are out there hoping and praying that you gave everything, because they can tell. People can tell when you left nothing on the field, when you did everything that you could. They know when you feel good about it, like you couldn't have done any better. You couldn't have done any more. People know. And that's your only responsibility. But that's not easy. It's not easy to do that. But it might be the most important thing that you ever do in your life. Might. Because it's going to transfer over to other things, like I said. Like, obviously, it's not more important than your family and your job and stuff like that. But maybe it'll become your job. Maybe it'll enable you to take care of your family. Or maybe it'll just be good for your self-esteem. Good for your soul, your spirit, to put yourself out there, to do this work. Are you an artist? If you're an artist, you're going to do this. But it's not easy. So I just wanted to straighten that out. And in my opinion, it will change your life. I'm going to tell you a story real quick, then I'm going to get out of here. So my best friend, we came up together in the music business. She is now a wildly successful music personality. You know her probably. I'm not going to say her name. But we came up together in the business. And so, I was a recording artist. I had a band of my own. I was a studio musician. I did a lot of different things. I was a producer. But anyway, she went on to become a star, a Grammy winner, an Academy Award winner. And again, don't even ask. I'm not using her name because I'm not going to do that. But anyway, we hadn't seen each other for a long time because she had been out of town a lot. And, even though we speak all the time, we hadn't physically seen each other for quite a while. And so I had been working on a play for 6 years when I made the transition from the music business to the theater. 6 years later, I had a show that was running off Broadway. And I didn't know that she came to this one particular performance. And it was a great performance. All of the performances were really amazing. During that run, I was doing 8 shows a week for months. So anyway, 6 months of development, finally doing an off-Broadway run was a big deal for me. And of course, being the amazing friend that she is, she showed up. So anyway, I get out of my dressing room. I'm walking out of the theater that night. And to get out of the theater, I had to go back on the stage and then go through the actual house. And there was nobody left. Everybody had left. But there was one woman, and it was a 149-seat house. It was empty, and she was sitting there. But I didn't know who it was because we hadn't seen each other in a long time, and it was kind of out of context. And so I walk out, and she's like, "Rock?" And I'm like, "Hey." Because I didn't know who it was. I mean, I hadn't seen her for a long time. And then all of a sudden, once I realized, it was like, "Oh my God, yeah, we hugged each other and it was all beautiful." And it was like a great reunion, even though we'd been speaking all the time, but we hadn't physically seen each other. But my point is that she said to me, "Oh my God, what did I just see?" And I don't know if she thought she was coming to like a music gig. Like, I don't think she really knew what I was doing, because like I said, we hadn't seen each other in a while. And even though we were talking about it, I don't think until you saw how different my life had become, until you actually saw it, I don't think it would sink in if you knew me in a different way for years and years. And she said to me, "It looks like you had a stroke and came back as a different person." Because see, when I was in the music business, when I was performing, I was a very shy performer, very kind of deferential. I guess because I never quite felt like that's where I belonged. Like I never felt like this was what I was born to do. I just didn't feel comfortable, even though I was a really good musician. But see, I started as a jazz musician, and then somehow I got into the pop world, and I had this manager who was trying to turn me into a pop star and all this crazy stuff. And anyway, I never felt, I was just very laid back as a performer. But once I hit the theater world, solo theater, which, talk about going from something where you don't feel comfortable to putting yourself in the most uncomfortable position possible, like one person on stage in front of a big audience. That's what I did. Solo theater. The first time I stepped on the stage doing that, I thought, "Oh my God, this is why I was born. Like I knew I had landed in the right place. And a reviewer once called me a hurricane on stage, you know, like I was like very high energy. I could command any size audience. I could just own the house. Like that audience was mine. That story was mine. This space, I created a space for us to live in together, and I owned it. But a lot of people who knew me before this part of my life, they couldn't have imagined that. And the people who knew me from this world, they couldn't imagine me like that before. Because it was a catharsis for me, a real change. It was like this release of myself out into the world. And that's what you can have. But it's not easy. You have to commit to it. It took me 6 years to develop that play. I wrote every day, I rehearsed. I had to memorize a 2.5-hour script. It was a lot of work. It was not easy, but it was the easiest thing I had ever done because it's what I believed in more than anything else in my life. And it was, like I said, it was what I was born to do. So there was nothing that was going to stop me. So it was easy for me to wake up every day and do it, to be dedicated to it, to never negotiate with myself, to put in the work. It was easy. That's what making a movie is going to be for you. It's going to be easy. You just have to decide to do it. And you know, you got to figure out if it's what you really want to do. Because if you don't really want to do it, like I said in the other video, if you're not really about this, then it's going to be really hard. Impossible, perhaps. But if you are this thing, this filmmaker, this storyteller, if this is truly, really, really what you want to do, if this is what you need to do, then you're going to do it. And you're going to find that it's the easiest thing you've ever done in your life, even though it'll take you right next to death. Trust me, because you will love it so much that you will work harder than you've ever worked in your life at anything. You will push yourself beyond the limits that you ever thought you might have had. Like you go way past those. You are going to get out there and find that you have so much more potential than you thought you had, and that it's endless. It never ends. Like for me, I know I'm going to keep doing this till I die, and it's going to get higher and higher and higher as I go, because it's easy, because I have no choice. It's not what I do, it's who I am. It's what I am, and that's easy. Even though it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, every single time I do it, it's the hardest thing I've ever done, but at the same time, it's the easiest thing. So I just wanted to clear that up.